Why am I dark? Here we go. Hey, everybody. Michael Goldberg. Welcome to the LinkedIn Live Lunch Hour, where every Tuesday we talk talent acquisition. And I bring on special guests like today's guest, Donnie Gupton, straight out of California. Donnie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Mike. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. And they're the dogs, right? You know, it's like
perfect timing.
So Donnie, I guess what we should start doing or open up the broadcast is tell us about yourself, what you do, and kind of take it from there.
Yeah. So, I mean, the best way I could put it is I'm a marketing kind of coach / mentor. And I focus, pretty exclusively on the staffing and recruiting space, specifically third-party agencies, boutique type agencies, the smaller independents, and really just helping them adopt to the new times, some of the things that we're seeing in the industry, and really focus on helping them build a relevant brand that attracts their ideal clients and in some cases candidates. But my main focus is really helping, third-party agencies with a business development piece of things. And just focusing on a more modern approach to marketing their recruitment business. So that's it in the high level, in the nutshell. We really focus on develop what I call the relevant recruiter method. A relevant recruiter method really focuses on 4 Ps, which is positioning, prospecting, producing content, and then knowing how to promote your business across multiple channels, which is very, very important in today's world. So that's it.
So it's kind of like the dodge, duck, dive, dodge.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
That movie was on like a couple of days ago and on Sunday, and I watched it, and it's like still holds up, still pretty funny, right? So let's start talking. So whether you're a agency or you're in a corporate recruiting role, marketing is king, right? And you probably saw my article last week around but a piece of it, and what I do on the training side of it is, I guess I'll ask you is, how do they become better marketers? How do, whether they're agency or corporate recruiters, how do they become better marketers? What can they do?
I think the first thing with marketing is knowing who your audience is. That's usually where people skip over. We would just want to go play, right? We want to get to the tactics as fast as we can. But really the key for any good marketing strategy, whether it's, employer branding style marketing or business development or candidate, those things don't matter. But knowing who my audience is the first key thing. Knowing exactly who I'm talking to. And then from there, a lot of what I believe in is, figuring out and helping people solve their pains and problems and help them find a new vision for themselves. So again, that can kind of go back into, business development, and it can also go into employer branding of trying to attract, a certain candidate, building that vision, I think is very important. But one of the things that I really believe in is that we're really competing for people's attention now more than ever, right? You walk to school, you drive to school, whatever you're driving to work, whatever it is, there's messaging everywhere. That's on our phone, it's on our TV, it's on our computer, it's on the road. And we as humans are just, we can't take so much in. And so a big thing that I believe tactically is having a multi-channel approach, showing up in multiple places so I can really build a brand, because whether we like it, there's indirect competition, and we can't, most of us, and probably most that are listening to this, don't have massive budgets to compete with the Apples, the Googles, the Targets, the Walmarts of the world that really steal a lot of attention by their brand. And we don't really think of it that way a lot of times, but we're competing for attention with people. So those are some of the big things. And I'm a big believer in video as being a big thing that can help us really cut that, know, like, and trust, so to speak, in the marketplace. And so I think video is a huge helper with that, and cutting that time to get there.
What do you think the reservation is on putting yourself out there on video? Because it's so key. Yet, we can talk. I
Yep.
mean, I know I've talked about it, why people need to go and why people need to do things, but what do you, I mean, I kind of already know the answer, and I think a lot of people do already, but for those who don't, what do you think
Fear
the
of failure.
reservation is?
I mean, it's putting ourselves out there, and what if I'm rejected? Is I think one of the biggest things. One of the biggest things I work with my students on is like getting over this whole, what if what if I put a video out there and somebody doesn't like me? What if my message isn't well received? And this can go on to just content in general. But I think the other things kind of come into, we don't like the way we look. We don't like the way we sound. And then there goes into technology. Oh, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's got to be perfect. Can I shoot it on my iPhone, or do I have to have a nice setup? And there's so many things that I think people put as like a subconscious roadblock. I hear this all the time. It's like, hey, I'm going to do video when blah, 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 whatever kind of easy excuse they can come up with to prevent them from doing that. But I think a lot of it's just a mindset thing and a fear of putting themselves out there. And there's a lot of overwhelm when it comes to the content, the technology, and all that stuff. So that's usually what I see. And it's really gratifying for me when I see my clients start to put themselves out there, because I don't want to say they're receiving an immediate impact. The one thing with content that I think a lot of people don't give credit to is it's kind of disrespectful to start creating content and just expect immediate result. Again, when you go back into the whole noise thing, like you got to be spending a lot of time to build that brand. And so that comes from repetition, but it's awesome when I watch my clients go out, put themselves out there, and then they get immediate good feedback. It doesn't always necessarily equate to revenue all the time, but they start to impact the market. And I mean, once you can kind of get over it, it becomes a lot easier, right? And one of the things I always tell people, like a live like this, it's kind of fun when you go live, because you simply click a button, and now you're forced to kind of play. You don't have any other choice but go up and
Right.
just, well, got to go now. So there's been times where I've been thinking about, what am I going to do? What am I going to talk about? And then boom, I just click live and go for it. So.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like when the red light comes on. So Lara is a great recruiter out there. She said it's about personalization, and I'd agree. Thoughts.
She said it's about
in terms of marketing. Personalization.
Got it.
Personalization. Yep. So,
So I got a question from Michael Townsend. Michael, thanks for tuning in and watching. I mean, he said, "What do you guys think about video job descriptions?" And I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the question, Michael. I mean, I think that's got to be, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this thing on my feed as well. I think that's got to be, I think there's huge opportunity there, right? Instead of, so many people take the time to write out that basic video, that basic job description. And again, like we're doing the activity, but it's actually delivering a result. And video job descriptions are just a huge way. And I would recommend that just becomes a part of everybody's process. Because again, it's not about, when you're creating video, in my opinion, if you're looking at, hey, I want to do a video job description, and I hope that I get a bunch of passive candidates and passive talent to come my way with this. If you're creating it from that standpoint, I don't think you're going to have the success that you want. If you create it from, hey, this is a part of my process, this is what I do every single time, then what happens, you start to build a brand around your video job descriptions. And I've had several clients that they've done the video job descriptions and get passive candidates from it. But the other side that happens, in the space that I play is, they also get clients from it because the clients are seeing them promote their positions in a different way than most people are. So it's all encompassing when we're building that brand, and I think video job descriptions is just got to be there. And the thing about it is don't overthink it. You're talking about a 30 to 1 minute post with, hey, here's the high level, here's some of the skills you need, and then here's how your next step, here's how you get into touch with me. Simple as that. Don't overthink it. Can be shot on your iPhone. But I think that there's a huge opportunity there because, from the candidate side, you're also, again, you're approaching them in a different way. And when you think about like all the things, again, going back into this whole noise thing I keep coming back to, with how many recruiters are in a candidate's inbox, are they going to respond to somebody that just has a standard message, or there's an opportunity to actually shoot videos specifically for candidates? Now we're getting somewhere, right? Now we're being different. Now we're actually showing them that we're showing up to them differently, which is, I think, so important in today's world. So, Yeah, I think video jobs are huge. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. So, so Michael, I would say yes, video job descriptions do work. I'd reach out to Maureen Hannigan at Spark Hire, SPARC Hire. They've got some good tools, and one of the things that they recommend is it's not about putting the recruiter, but it's about putting either people that are currently in the position or people that or hiring managers, having them do the video job description, because it's going to show the passion that, hey, yeah, as the hiring manager, I'm looking to find somebody, and now you're putting the hiring manager's face out on video,
Yep.
which makes it become extremely real.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get a lot more applies that way. People are going to connect with that hiring manager, not in the vein of circumventing the recruiting process, but in the vein of building relationships. And isn't that what we're all about, right?
100%.
You know, my good friend Michelle Austin, thanks for joining. She goes, I like dialogue. Video is monologue to me. True, Michelle. And we're not talking about, in terms of dialogue with candidates, yes, it should be a dialogue. It should be a conversation. But the way to look at this platform is that LinkedIn, Facebook, I mean, let's call it LinkedIn because most recruiters hang out on LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn, the way you create that dialogue is actually through engagement and people responding to posts and people and the interaction. That's what the platform is for. So on the video side of things, if you put out a video, you're sharing your knowledge and your expertise with the candidate. And I also think for recruiters, and I'd like to get your input, Donnie, and you kind of addressed it, is you on LinkedIn, you can now send a video message as an in-mail to somebody, right? Right. And how different is that? So number one, you're now putting your face straight up with the candidates, not a bunch of words on a paper that they see every day of, hey, I've got a position, noticed your background on LinkedIn, want to talk with you.
Exactly.
That's boring. Put your video out. Now you're touching your thoughts.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think that's the key. Again, I mean, when you're looking at a lot of, especially with the low unemployment, almost everybody's getting hit up as a candidate right now. And, one of the biggest things that, clients will come to me with is the engagement part, getting them to actually respond. And video is just a much better way because it's personalized. Not only that, is one of the great things I think with video is that we can show our energy, right? We can't show our energy through written stuff, but we can show our energy through video. And so I could pull up somebody's LinkedIn profile and be like, hey, Michael, hey, man, I just went through your stuff. I've got a new opportunity that's out there. I don't know if you're a fit, but from the, what your LinkedIn profile, yeah, it seems like you might be. But I want to learn a little bit more about you and what fires you up, right? And now I've got dialogue. And I think, whether it's in the inbox or on the feed, and kind of going back into what Michelle was saying is like, all of these things are designed actually, or should be designed to start conversations that make the offline game easier. It's not to replace anything. It's not to take away from dialogue. It's actually to create more dialogue. And that's where there's a lot of opportunity. If you're doing marketing right, is you're going to get more opportunities to actually serve humans at a higher level. That's my philosophy. That's what I'm trying to get people to do, is like, so much of what I think and where people kind of misunderstand things is when they think marketing and they hear words like automation and all this stuff is like that it's going to completely depersonalize the process. And it's actually the opposite. When you're leveraging automation, right? When you have good marketing, you're actually allowing for more time for human interaction that's more quality and more impactful. So, but it takes the right approach. You don't want to have video that's self-serving. You want to have video that's, goodwill to the marketplace. And when you have that stuff that goes in the inbox, it's different.
Yeah. So Nick Livingston says, are you talking about recruiters promoting the jobs or the actual hiring managers?
I would say both.
Yeah, I'd say both too. Personally, I think it's better if it comes from either someone that's doing the job or the hiring manager themselves. Hi, I'm so-and-so, come join my team. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's it's different because most people are just relying on these same boring job descriptions that they put out there as job postings. Make it real,
100%.
right? Michael, the person who asked about the video job description, he says it can give a company a clear look into the company culture. Michael, that's exactly right. And, a lot of people, and Donnie, I know you see this. I know I see it as, hey, we're hiring, right? And they just put a job description out there. If you're a recruiter, that's the lazy way to do it. Stop doing that shit. Or stop, sorry, I'm not supposed to cuss on the platform. Stop doing that stuff. Okay? It's not going to work. Post stuff out there about your company culture. Whether it's, going out and doing a habitat build for Habitat for Humanity or working at the food bank or whatever. Take lots of pictures, take videos. When you're at different networking events, share that. People want to see you in your element and how you go about bringing and introducing others into your world on this platform. That's what it's about, right?
Absolutely. Well,
do you agree?
In the case, your market a little bit more than mine, where you keep talking about it, like if the hiring manager does it, I think that there's so much opportunity to show that culture, to have some fun, there's obviously they have way more opportunity to be more impactful because they get to, where if you're a third party recruiter, you should still do it 100%. But like if it's coming from the organization, what an awesome way to create something that's different and something that's new. And I think one of the things that's not often looked at is, I always use like sports and free agency. What is one of the things, I'm a 49ers fan. We came up short in the Super Bowl, unfortunately, but I still, I got my faithful cup here all the time. But, it's, what do the 49ers do? They're actively looking at improving their roster in that position every single time. And I think if organizations viewed it that way, where they're actively always trying to improve their roster, not just bring in who they can get, but like looking for ways to create and attract the very best talent. So much of this stuff becomes perception, and video helps with that, of creating killer culture videos and being able to see exactly who you're going to work for and what they're like, and just doing things that are authentic. And it doesn't have to be like, there shouldn't be a right or wrong way to do this. There should be a way that promotes your business and fully shows that culture, because it's going to be a win for both. It's going to be a win for the organization. It's going to be a win for the candidate in the long-term game.
Absolutely. So, Lara asked about a day in the job video. What's your thoughts on that?
A day in the job, like just what happens? Yeah, just kind of like a preview of what the responsibilities would be. Yeah. I think any and all, right? I think anything that you can do to show. Again, if we're trying to build a long-term fit, then the more transparency we can have around that role, what they're going to be doing, what the culture is, a day in the job, is just going to make for a better ultimate hire, when we can really just, this is exactly what it is. And I think that's a big thing that, you even go back 5 years, companies didn't have to be as transparent as as they have to be now. Right. And I mean, you can choose not to be, but society really wants you to be open and honest and transparent about the roles. And I think that's, just another area of opportunity. And again, I always just look at it as a place to separate. There's going to be a certain set of companies that just stay status quo, and there's going to be a certain set that are willing to embrace things that are new. And the ones that embrace the things that are new and hop on board and don't try to make it what somebody else did and just make it their own and be creative is where they're going to find a lot of impact and results.
Absolutely. So Joy Dumore says, create more dialogue and start a relationship earlier in the process. It's more personal. I agree.
Yep.
How about you?
Yep. Yeah, I call it proactive posting, right? You should be actively building a pond of candidates all the time, knowing what your market is all the time. It is, it's obviously a full-time job, but if you're serious about talent, that should, it's funny how I always hear people that are always, or you hear companies that we're all about our people, but yet they don't have a talent strategy at all that that embraces that. That happens often. And so I just don't think there's a lot of opportunity on any side right now.
Absolutely. So Ahmed Hyder, I agree. Absolutely right. Dialogue and conversation reflect energy and body language. Um, Joy, you're right on. Give video tours of your company and introduce the candidates to different people in the organization. Ahmed responded back, show the entire culture. So we have some great dialogue.
Yep.
Keep this dialogue coming. Feel free to ask Donnie and I more questions. Feel free to share this. We'll be live for probably about another 20 minutes. So feel free to share this out by hitting that little arrow to the right and saying, join the conversation. So, let's go back to marketing. So as recruiters, and I've talked about this with other guests, and I know you and I have had some pretty good conversations. In fact, we were talking yesterday, kind of preparing for the show, that, marketing recruiters, do you think recruiters should have more of that marketing mindset? Do you think that there is the capability to train recruiters to be more like true salespeople and marketing people if they don't have those skills? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think yeah, very. Is
that a loaded question?
Yeah. I just think that to be a marketer, when you think about what recruiting is, ultimately, it's a form of marketing. Just hasn't been that way. You're attracting people. It's what you should be doing, right? Marketing is your ability to attract people to you. If you're recruiting, then you should, be always working on skills to attract people to you. Now, the job of recruiting has always been done more on the, we'll call it the outbound effort, right? Find the candidate, reach out in any way and platform I can, whether it's cold calling, cold emailing, and things like that. And those are always going to be a part of the game. It has to be. But having a brand in marketing, this is where, again, when you go back, I keep on coming back to the noise. If I want to really separate, and I want to be able to cut through, I want to be the person that's more relevant. I want to be the person that's showing up. I want to be the person that's adding value, because it increases the engagement and the level of candidate that I can ultimately attract. So I'm a big believer in that. And that's exactly what how I'm trying to disrupt the space, is to teach recruiters how to become more of a marketer, but doing it and realizing that you're kind of already doing this. You just don't understand the tactical and the high level strategy that you need, but essentially it's a part of what you're doing every single day. And when you can add, a good marketing and awareness campaign to some of your, efforts that you're already doing, watch out. You're just kind of pouring some gas on the fire a little bit. But I think these are really, personally, I think that's the recruiters that are really going to survive this long term, is there's a shift going on. And especially the external recruiter I'm talking about, but even internally, to have a brand and to, represent your company but also building a brand around yourself and who you are. That's what people buy now. I mean, and now with all these social media platforms, I mean, it's just, there's so much more transparency out there about who you are. And so I think all across the board that having this brand and having skills to market and attract people to us is incredibly, incredibly important moving forward.
So Joy asked a question. I think this is more about the video side of things. Back to the video. Is to present the case for doing this, are there companies that are already doing this that you can point to in terms of best practices? So Joy, I hope I'm guessing correctly that you're asking about video. Or if you're asking about marketing, in that mindset, then Donnie, you focus in on the agency recruiters,
correct.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And Joy, happy to have a conversation with you on the internal recruiting mindset side, which is part of what I've been able to do at companies. So opportunities for both. It's interesting. So, Michael Townsend says, yes, recruiters should have the marketing mindset. The process is sales marketing focused. It's confusing to me why it's an HR thing.
Yeah, I'm on the same one with that.
What's that? We agree. I mean, honestly, I've always been, I was talking with somebody last week and they said that, and it was almost like a sigh of relief. They go, yeah, recruiting now is its own division.
outside of HR. We don't report in HR. The head of talent reports directly to the CFO or CEO. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't play in that world as much as you do, but my thoughts is that's probably the right move. I think that there's a lot more creativity to that. And from all the feedback that I always get from working with third-party recruiters is that HR usually slows things up with the hiring process. And I'm not saying that as a blanket statement, but that's some of the feedback that I get. So I think that, having a little bit more flexibility, and them, going back to what Michael Townsend said, is like giving them the tools to now have some more power to become a sales and marketer and remove some of the tasks off their plate. These people should be out there every single day, trying to build awareness around their employer brand. Again, going back into what I was saying earlier of these companies talk about company culture, but they don't have an active employer branding. Employer branding shouldn't be done when we're hiring. Employer branding should be done 24/7, 365. And if that's what a recruiter's new job could be, is just showing the culture and showing the brand, then that's so much better than, they have a full marketing division most likely to promote their company, right? So I think that nowadays, if companies are really, focused on talent, they should have a 365 plan that focuses on that.
Yeah, though it's hit or miss with some companies. I think marketing tends to block recruitment because they're worried they're going to take away from the master brand, and that they don't really understand recruitment marketing. I ran into that at a couple of different companies, but eventually I pointed to the fact that you put us in the same boat with the master brand, I guarantee you will outperform you. And they would they do posts and they get maybe 2 or 3 or 5 likes. We put out things about culture. We put out things. We do intern interviews. We would do all these different types of videos and marketing tools. The engagement and the impressions kick butt, and we would outperform the master brands. And this is for a large organization.
Right.
So you got to get creative in the space. And I think Ahmed agrees with me, says recruiting should be taken away from HR. I think with the talent shortage that we have today and the CEO's top concerns, that for in terms of us companies identifying talent and then retaining that talent, that eventually and hopefully we start to see a trend that recruiting is its own separate function, and that talent is so important to the organizations, not only in terms of bringing them in, but also on the talent management side. Right. Development, growth, succession planning, all those things that lead up. That's what's going to get companies to retain. But what happens is when they're in the HR organizations, and you know this, you talked about noise. Talk about noise. Holy crap. I mean, when I was in corporate recruiting, we used to get all these drive-bys. We'd have people come and asking us questions because we were delivering to the business. And so we had built rapport with them where HR wasn't. So I think it's important that, recruiting organizations kind of do separate themselves. When you look at the clients that you're working with today, why do they come to you? What's like their biggest need and biggest problem, and so why do they seek out Donnie Gupton?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of things. I mean, there's 2 typical clients. One that's just purely aggressive, has already kind of bought into, the more modern, digital marketing inbound approach and looking for, further ways to scale. So there's that client. And then there's the client that's kind of been doing a lot of the traditional things, the cold calling, relying on relationships, and they're starting to feel the pinch. They're kind of starting to feel that what they were doing before isn't working at the level as it once did. A lot of what I talk to my clients about is the cold calling side of things. Cold calling's been what's driven this business for years and years. And, when you look at all the, how hard it is to getting to somebody's phone number now to get through all the automations of a company, it's just incredibly more challenging. Not saying it doesn't work. It obviously still works, or people wouldn't be doing it at all. But it's not trending up, it's trending down, right? And so it's for people that are really kind of starting to forward think and realize, hey, you know what, I got to do something that's different now. I got to find a new way to attract. And the other big thing too is looking for quality clients. You know, I think people get burnt. You know, I always talk to recruiters on the third party side. It's like, are you priding yourself on staying busy, or are you priding yourself making placements? Because there's a big difference. You can work on every role in town if you want, or you can work half the time and make a placement if you're just working with ideal clients. So I think that there's a shift. And as you're seeing, you know, more companies go internal now with internal recruitment teams, you know, I think there's a big opportunity to kind of take more of a consultative approach. In fact, I don't really like to work with transactional recruiters. I'm looking for recruiters that are trying to make an impact for organizations, trying to make an impact for candidates, and truly trying to be a part of that team and partner. I think that's where the opportunity is at. And, you know, I mean, of course, there's going to be always a place for certain contingent, you know, recruiting and things like that. But, you know, it doesn't have to be retained, but getting some sort of exclusivity and getting some sort of, you know, some sort of an engagement, I think is so important now. Because I want to work with people that value their time, you know, and are seeing kind of that. And that's one of the big things too, is like a lot of people, most people come in, you know, working with me and they're good at recruiting. That's what they do. But this whole lead generation and marketing side of things and business development may not be their strong suit. And so that's where I want to help build those skills, because I don't care what industry you're in. If you have the ability to bring in customers, you can essentially start any business you want. I've always believed that. You know, my start in this whole thing was an industry that was a complete opposite. I was in the floor covering industry doing these things, you know, for the first 10 years of my career with my family and my dad. Talk about, you know, a complete 180 from this, but the principles and the concepts still work. It's awareness, it's brand awareness, it's showing up and being different. And it's, you know, once we were able to start acquiring customers, boom, the business grew. And it's the same thing that happens for my clients. I mean, if you can acquire the actual, you know, customer relationship, that's where it's at. Because then that's where you make money, right? On the recruiting side of thing. But again, I like to work with people that are looking for the partnership, looking for more of that relationship with the end party, and not just to be on their vendor list. I think that's got to be where the game's played. I mean, it's just a much more enjoyable life. And especially when I see people that I've helped get there, and then I see people that have been there and that are trying to go to another level. Talk about just different stress levels from some of the people that are constantly on the race, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the economy and where we're going.
Yep.
Because you'll probably, just like back in 2008, 2009, 2010, you'll see a shakedown of the industry, I think.
Oh, yeah.
People will close doors. People will, yeah, they're going to be forced to, right? It's really, to me, you're taking, it's to me, it's not about quantity. It's about the quality of the clients that you have and the quality of the product and the service that they bring. And there's some great recruiters out there. And those are the folks that are going to survive and that really understand what they're trying to do and build business. It's just going to be, you know, I think we're in for an interesting ride in 2020, you know, not predicting doom and gloom, but it's probably going to get worse before it gets any better.
A little bit shaky right now.
Yeah, it's a little shaky right now. Though I think the market today was doing some rebounding a little bit from pushing a panic button, but it's all right. When you, you know, when you look at these agencies and these clients, how much shift do you see in their ability to take ownership in making the change? I mean, you can only help them, right? You can only take them to the trough, but you know, as the old, you can't get a horse to drink, right? What's the most important thing for you? Like, how do you know when you've hit success, and how do you help clients take ownership for what they need to do? Because you're not going to be around them forever.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the big thing I always stress to my clients when I come in is I'm not the magic pill. I'm here to co-create with you, right, and help you find your greatness. And so for me, it's just, focusing on those skills that I laid out. One is working on that brand positioning. And once they feel like they're building a brand that's going to be relevant to their market, that's the first key thing that we look at. Like I talked about before, that's usually the step that everybody skips, is getting their right market, their right message to that market, and all that stuff dialed in. If you don't have that, I mean, the rest of the stuff becomes tactical, and you're probably not going to have the success that you're after. But one of the things that we look at from just the individual level is getting them to buy into that personal responsibility. And every client that I come with is different. There are certain people, my client Renee Fry, like I love Renee, and it's because she just takes action on everything. And I don't know if you guys know Renee or not, but definitely look her up here on LinkedIn. I mean, she's just taken some of the stuff I've taught her, and she's ran with it beyond where we've gone. And it's awesome to watch, but she's understood, like, okay, it's awareness. And then, she's on LinkedIn all the time. Then it's YouTube and it's all this stuff. And she's bought into the idea that this is not an option anymore. Right. And this is now a necessity. And there's so many people, and there's certain clients that I have that even invest with me, but I can tell that they don't believe deep down that this is like, you have to do this. This isn't like a choice anymore. That's just what I believe. I mean, you could probably still make it over the next couple of years, but the buy-in is what's so important, because so much of what I try to help my clients do is understand that there's, one of the things that's overwhelming, or the biggest feedback I get is, oh, I don't have time to create content, right? That's always it. Oh, well, you want me to create content? I don't have time. Yeah, you do. It's just not your priority. You have time. If you can't take 30 minutes to an hour in the morning to create, a valuable 5 to 10 minute, post, it's, you have time. It's just a matter of reprioritizing what's important for your business and realizing that this, quite honestly, is probably the most important thing for your business now. When you think about like from a numbers game, if somebody was at a desk doing the traditional model, right, they were smiling and dialing, they were doing 100 calls a day. Okay. That means that maybe they're getting 500 impressions, so to speak, per week. They're getting 500 touch points per week. My clients are getting 500 touch points in an hour from just awareness, right? Who's going to win in the long game? There's not even really an answer. It's obvious, right? The person who can show up more often with a better message is going to win the long game. And when you're transactional once, twice, and even if it's just an email, even if you've adopted some new things, there's so much more out there. So I know that's a long-winded answer to the question, but I think so much of it comes into just the basics of the buy-in, right? We got to be bought into this is not an option anymore. This is something that we have to do if I'm really serious about my business.
Well, and I think it's, on my side of the fence, I think we're already, last year, people were saying, if you're not in the video, if you're not doing these kinds of things right now and putting yourself out there, by the end of this year, you're going to be too late, because everybody's going to be doing it. You're starting to see that where, I'll get notifications all the time, so-and-so's live, so-and-so's live, so-and-so's live, so-and-so's live. So if you want to be ahead of the market in the recruiting game, whether you're an agency recruiter or corporate recruiter, you've got to get out there now, whether it's putting yourself on video or just putting copy and content out there. People think they got to write like Robert Louis Stevenson or, or
exactly.
Who he's, you don't have to tell a story like that. All you have to do is something that's on your mind. Just talk about it. Use proper, use good English, but be yourself and be true. And don't make it about you. Make it about the audience. Think about what the audience likes and find something unique that the audience maybe hasn't seen on the platform. Do you think we're getting to the point where on LinkedIn, especially, where you see kind of the same ideas or a trend that maybe 1 week it's about this versus 1 week it's about that? Are you, and how do you rise above those clouds and that noise? What would be your answer there?
Yeah, well, I mean, first to answer the question, I mean, the thing is, there's a ton of content out there that's not we'll just call it, for lack of a better, just original, right? It's just a lot of regurgitated stuff in the marketplace. And it's a balance, right? Like if you're just getting started, then my always advice when you're just getting started is like, what's the least path of resistance for you personally? Does that mean that message is going to be received by the market yet? No, but one of the things that people need to understand about marketing content, it's a skill. So you can't think yourself to the skill. You can't keep thinking about the content you're going to write or the video that you're going to record. You have to play the game at some point. So it's a balance, because I know a lot of people come out with this exact concern of like, well, I don't want to just create some more noise. Well, yeah, if that's all you can do at this point, if that's what your skill set says, then you're better off doing that than be sitting on your hands, right? And then going, that's where kind of the balance of this whole thing comes in, is like, I'm a big believer in progress, not perfection. When some of my clients come in, they're, all my clients are in a different, level of what they've done with content or what they haven't done with content. My goal is not to tell you to like, hey, here's the perfect piece to write. It's like, hey, if you need to just write something, then just write something. Well, how good is it? I don't know. Just put it out there. Who cares how good it is? Just start with the habit, right? I always use the bike riding analogy because it always seems to be a common one. But like, we all started with training wheels, at least 9 out of 10 of us on here. Some of us are, superstars and just started riding our bike, right? But we all started with training wheels. Right. And then, at some point you can take the training wheels off, and, the next thing you know, you can start jumping curves, and if you got really good at it, you could jump a ramp and then you could even ride backwards. Well, you didn't do that from day one, and content's no different. When you first start your content, it's not going to be great. You might as well start sucking sooner than later, right? You might as well start getting bad at this sooner, and become a part of the noise so that you can eventually, adopt the voice. And one of the things that, I've really worked on recently is being 100% authentically myself. And when you do that, then the content really becomes original. But sometimes when we market, we're trying to always think of, well, what's going to be accepted and what's received. And that, of course, that should be a part of the thought process. But I believe marketers are good testers. You and I don't know what the market wants. The market knows. So I'm going to come out with some things from a couple different angles. And as soon as I find the angle that it's hitting, then I'm going to start going down that angle and exploring that a little bit more. But most people are stuck in thought, so they never put this piece out and that piece out. They think themselves through it, and they really don't know. It's all a story in their head versus what's actually happening. And so many people, going back to all the things we've talked about, when you talked about originally putting yourself out on a video, what holds you back? It's the story. Oh, nobody's going to like this. Nobody's going to receive this. Hey, look, some of the best stuff that I've ever created was created on a whim. Some of the stuff that I've spent the most time on and a couple of days working on is received crickets in response, right? So it's like, you have to embrace the fact that it's a skill. You have to start being bad at it before you can become good at it. So it is a balance of like, hey, I might have to become a part of the noise on this platform so that I can get better and eventually start to create some stuff that stands out.
Absolutely. So Donnie and I say, it's okay to suck at first.
Yep.
But you work on it, right?
Yeah.
It gets better.
Well, yeah. Let me transform into something that, like, you can't be doing it that way for all the time, right? At some point, there has to be the shift into, okay, now I've been doing this for a while. Now I really want to up level this skill, right? And that's where, working with a coach can be so valuable, because you're here, the coach or mentor can take you to the next step. I've done it multiple times over. I invest in coaching 24/7, every single year, because it helps me take that leap, right? And content's one of those things. I just got a new copywriting book the other day. Let me show it to you. I mean, I'm still always working on my skills, right? It's not something for me that stops. And some people look at my stuff sometimes, and some people hate my stuff and some people like my stuff. But a lot of people, especially clients that come in the course, and like, oh, well, you're so comfortable with it. No, it's just something I'm willing to go, expand my discomfort zone, is what I'm willing to do. That's always been my strength. I've always been an action taker. Now, just honestly, with where I'm at on my journey, I want to be more, I'm massaging things more. I want to become a little bit more fine-tuned with everything. Because I'll use myself as a prime example. I mean, I came into this industry 3 years ago, and in 3 years, I've been able to make a little bit of a brand for myself. I'm not going to give myself a bunch of credit, but I've been able to create a little bit of a noise while learning along the way. So if I can do that, then anybody else that's listening to this can do the same thing. You learn along the way, you can make some noise too, right? Now, there may be some people that, hey, I've rubbed wrong. I know I wrote an article a couple of weeks ago, dropped an F-bomb in there, and people could not stand it. It rubbed them wrong. And that's fine. Everybody gets their own opinion. It's not something, if people that know me and work with me know that I'm not a vulgar guy, 24/7. It was a passionate piece that I wrote. And, if that's going to rub somebody wrong, then chances are we're probably not going to work well together. So that kind of goes back into that point of putting things out without apology, without acceptance, without a like or comment. And that's where most people get into it, is they start to play the game from the dopamine rush standpoint. Hey, how many likes did I get? How many comments? How many shares? It's really, it goes back into what I was talking about with the job description. It's part of my process. I'm going to create content out of goodwill and good faith, and I'm going to do it consistently so that I'm consistently showing up in the marketplace. When we do it that way, then there's, the results can be whatever, and I've seen it for myself, personally, on the impact on all these things, and I see what it does for my clients. And it's, you got to be a part of the game.
Absolutely. Well, Donnie, believe it or not, 45 minutes have gone by quickly,
man,
and I've enjoyed having you. I've enjoyed having you on the guest, or as a guest on our show, and I appreciate you having me on your show a while back. If people want to get in contact with you, how do they do that?
Well, right here on LinkedIn, Donnie Gupton. My email is donnie@donniegupton.com. Those would be the two easiest things. Just connect with me here on LinkedIn. Reach out to me, donnie@donniegupton.com. If you're on Facebook, Donnie Gupton will be the name again. And I also have for the third-party agency recruiters that are listening, I have a group. It's called Lead Mastery for recruiting agencies and executive search firms. So there's a Facebook group there. Feel free to join in on that. Reach out to me on LinkedIn here if you want details on that. I can send you over. Actually, that's where I interviewed Michael last time. I do a lot of interviews in that group about just like Michael's doing here. So yeah, any way I can help you out. If you want to just watch my feed and watch me be a dummy and watch all my content, then just follow me that way too. So I appreciate you having me on.
One thing you are not is you are not a dummy. You're a good guy, and I encourage the agency recruiters to definitely get in touch with you.
Appreciate it.
So, well, hey, this has been great. For those of you, next week there won't be a LinkedIn Live lunch hour. You'll have to have lunch by yourself, as I will be on a beach somewhere. So maybe I'll do a live broadcast from the beach in the sun. I'll have my shirt on to protect the innocent, and I'll just do kind of a solo, short 2-minute thing. But thanks again for everybody. The comments here were great. Craig Bohal, Mark Collins, Larry Pearson, Michael Townsend, Michelle Austin, Ahmed. Thank you so much. Trying to see if I missed anybody. Joy Demore. Thank you so much for taking the time to comment here and watch. And we'll see you in 2 weeks, where I believe my guest is going to be the great Judy Fox. So that should be an interesting conversation. So thanks again. And Donnie, hang tight, and I'll end the broadcast here, and then you and I can finish up.
Sounds good.
If I could just get there.